Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 3 of the creative stretch. It already feels like time is flying by. I'm delighted to be here. I'm Dr. Minette Riordan. I'm here with my partner in all things creative, Andrea Shebelou, and our guest artist this week, Mary Correa. Thank you, Mary, for giving us some of your very precious, we were talking before the call, busy time. We had a conversation about you be careful what you ask for and then get it, and that it's okay to be grumpy and grateful all at the same time. So we're all feeling a little punchy. It's a Friday afternoon as we're recording this video for you, and it's just been a day and a week. So you may get us a little raw today. And we're going to start with Mary talking about which of the values she picked and why that one really sort of stood out or spoke to her right now.
So when I saw the 3 core values for this week, courage was the one that jumped out at me. It almost felt like you guys had sent me this week specifically because you knew what my intention had been for the year. Because one of my big decisions at the beginning of the year was to try to live, in my view, a bigger life, something that pushes me outside of the little box I was in. And by box, I mean my house, basically. But something that would push me and make me reach for some of the things that I wanted to do. So I knew when I saw the list and I saw courage at the bottom that had to be mine, because I'm at that point where my son is a freshman in high school, and I homeschool him. So his school time is directly tied to my free time. And I'm getting to that point, where I can actually think ahead, and in 3 years, he's done. And that means I get to graduate. So, but anytime you have one of those life changes, I feel like that gives you a chance to look around and say, okay, what do I want next? And for me, that usually involves a little bit of courage of thinking of something outside. So it just seemed like this was just meant to be mine.
How do you define courage?
To me, courage is, number one, willing to break your own boundaries. So whatever you thought was possible for yourself, to think of something that would go outside of that. So for me, I know that I am being courageous anytime I'm slightly nervous about doing something, if I'm not really sure what the outcome is going to be. And I know a lot of times people think of courage as like big things. You saved a child on the street or whatever it may be. But I think there's those little courageous moments every single day when we make just little decisions to do something differently.
Like not eat the 4th chocolate chip cookie, is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly. It is very courageous to not eat the 4th one. And it's even more courageous if you can stop at 3.5.
Half a cookie? Who does that?
That's just crazy. Crazy's not even on the list. We should have put crazy on the list. Yeah, no, I'm teasing you. And I just, I think that's really beautiful that when we think about what it takes to move us towards what we say we want, it takes so much courage, but it's not the big giant leap. It's those little tiny daily actions of, oh, can I just go 2 inches closer in that direction and let go of the whatever I think is supposed to happen, or let go of perfectionism. So it's not just fear, but it's let go of, what are other people going to think? There's so much depth and richness in courage, and I love that perspective of finding those small daily actions that we can take that help us. I love what you said, that help us live that bigger life.
Yeah.
I also I was looking up the definition. We have mental or moral strength or to venture or persevere, withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. That's sort of the common courage one, but it's also the ability to do what needs to be done. Right? That's another definition of courage, regardless of the cost or risk. Courage is the ability to do what needs to be done, regardless of the cost or risk. And it really ties back to a lot of the other core values of, if I say I want something, growth or change or things like that, then I have to tap into that courage part, right? To make the changes that need to be done in order to progress in that area.
Right. Yeah, I think it's, again, it's all those little teeny tiny decisions. And to me, it's all the little small steps that add up to like the big leaps. So the more you can push yourself that little bit to grow a tiny bit, to send the one, scary email that you don't want to send, or that would be the one I sent to Andrea at the beginning of this whole thing. That was,
and look how beautiful it turned out.
One of my big courage steps for the year. So my courage got me here to talk
awesome.
To the two of you.
I love that. And I love that, the definition talks about mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, etc. The small steps are what build more courage, not the huge leaps, right? It really is those little small steps that continuously grow courage. Andrea, I know you're tackling connection this week.
I love the way that these beautifully, again,
you read my mind.
Yeah, it's no coincidence that courage is a way to connect. It's a way to connect to other core values. It's a way to connect. It's a way that Mary connected to us, right? It's a way to connect to change. And so when I think of connection, I think of, connecting to not only other artists, but connecting to what's important to me, connecting to myself right here, right now, being fully present. Like, what am I feeling? This week has been a big one for me. There's just been a lot of wonky, weird things going on. And I've had these moments of like, just take a deep breath. Okay, what do you feel right now? And that's a connection to self. What do you feel like doing right now? What do you want to smell right now? What do you want to see right now? What do you want to hear right now? These moments of connection, because it's so easy for me to be spinning out and thinking like, big picture, I need to get these big things done. I need to be moving in this direction or moving in this direction, or here's my list of things to do and all of that. But coming back down to connecting to self, where am I? I feel my bottom in my seat. Do I feel my feet on my floor? Do I feel the warmth around me? Do I hear? What am I hearing? What am I feeling? Connecting to spirit, connecting to visually what's pleasing to me. Even if I'm sort of semi checking out, which I tend to do by, scrolling on Instagram. That's one of my.
No, you don't.
So one of my favorite ways to check out is that or TikTok. But it's a guilty pleasure. But if I can bring it back to connecting to not just looking at things and being like, oh, that's great, I could never do that. I'm making mental notes. I'm connecting. Oh, I love the way that artist did that thing. And then making connections to that artist, reaching out and saying, hey, I really connected to what you said there, or that really touched me, or I love the way you did that. Like using those moments, maybe I'm using those moments to sort of decompress, and maybe I'm, using those moments to check out for a moment. But if I can also use those moments to be connection points with other artists and reach out in connection, I find there's value in that. There's lots of ways to use connection.
And what's the connection for you between courage and connection?
Oh man, just like Mary said, that I'm holding off. I have a big ask for a bunch of people right now, and I'm like, avoidance is that word that keeps coming up. I know.
You haven't sent the emails yet?
I haven't sent the emails yet. I know. Today, I'll do it today.
Okay.
So yeah, there's courage, and it's crazy because every time I do it, it's always comes back positive. I don't know what stops me, but I think it's just that second guessing myself and just wanting to make sure it's all right, that all my T's are crossed and my I's are dotted. And I, I do have a tendency to overthink things. So the connection between the courage and connection is usually what stops me is my overthinking.
Yeah. And I'll just piggyback that and keep the circle going, and then we'll circle back around to you, Mary. So I'm listening to, without courage and connection, we can't build thriving communities. And what each of us is doing individually as well as collectively here in the creative stretch is building community. And like Andrea was saying, like how important it is for us to be surrounded by other artists and creatives, both as business owners and leaders. Andrea and I were just talking about this yesterday, but also just as girlfriends getting to sit down and make art. And it made me think, Andrea, about how, our challenge video where we just sat and made art together. And we should have done that on these calls too, just all sat here and chatted and brought our art. So, next iteration, maybe we'll do that. And for those of you that are more introverted, you can be looking at your art as well, and it's more comfortable on video perhaps. But when I think about community, one of my highest core values, and it's not one that's actually on the list and took me a long time to discover, and I've been really delving deep into study and reading around this, is creating a sense of belonging. So growing up in Texas, like hospitality and welcome were everything. Living in California, it's different. No judgment, it's just different. And I realize how important it is to me when people step into a room, into a cup of tea, or into my home, that they feel that instant sense of welcome. Because to me, that's safety, and that not of you're welcome here, and all of you, every bit of you is welcome here. Takes a lot of courage for me. I have to be deeply connected to self and spirit in order to hold the space for that. I have to manage all the personalities in my home as well as who's coming in the door, and when someone like Andrea comes to stay and Brad and I just go, it's just another member of the family. It's just easy, right?
Aww.
It's just, yeah, we have a few friends like that. It's just like, people are always welcome here. There's always room. Like, it's what I learned from my mom and my grandmother. Like, there's always room for one more at the table in my house, in my world, in my community. And that the seeds of courage and connection feed community. And I'm just a community builder. Like, if I just had a long coaching session with a new client about leadership this morning, and I'm listening to her and I'm like, oh, she's a community builder. Like, she's building a dance fitness studio. And yet her highest need is to build community, to have the people that are coming, and to have her studio be part of her bigger community. And I'm like, it's so important. It's not important to everyone, but it's so deeply important to me. So I was lucky that I got the community one, because it's made me really think about, where am I not engaging in community when I know it makes me feel better? Where am I doing just an okay job and could do a better job of showing up as a leader in the communities that I have built, which are numerous and multiple? I made some really hard decisions to let go of some communities this week, which still feels really tender and gives me knots in my stomach to think about, so which means there's going to be some courageous phone calls and emails and conversations coming, because I don't want to lose connection to people. And I need to make these choices. So, it just feels like all three of these are intimately connected, but what's in the center of all three for me is also that connection piece. Because it takes me back to last week, to alignment. Like, I can't be connected if I'm out of alignment. I can't be connected if I'm not clear about my values, right? I can't be connected if I'm not holding myself authentically and, in integrity I can't build community, I can't create connection and connection into intimacy with loved ones. And, you know, I've got two young adults that have their own slew of problems right now. And sometimes I don't want to deal with it, right? Sometimes I'm just like,
I just had a phone call this
please.
morning. I can totally relate.
You know, it's like,
You know,
me.
I know. You know, I'm really curious, not to cut you off. Are you done?
Yeah.
I'm really curious. It's so interesting how the weeks are really lining up where they're so beautifully woven together. I'm like,
Yeah.
I know we didn't plan it that way. How is this happening? Is it just
Right.
because these core values in general all can have this connection together? There's that word again, that they somehow, just because they are values, they fall under the value umbrella, that we can make this connection together. I don't know. I don't know the answer, but it's very curious to me, and I'm looking forward to going
I know,
forward
I'm
and having
looking
these
ahead at the
conversations.
list, right, to see what's coming. So next week are curiosity, delight of being, and discipline, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, and
I know
then
which
we've
one
got,
I'm not going to choose next week.
oh, you're going to make me do discipline, aren't you? Because I already know
No,
that
actually, I should probably pick the one that I don't go for, right? Shouldn't that be like whatever you have a visceral reaction for should be the one that you.
and I think Mary Rose is going to kind of play with all three, is my sense, but leading with curiosity, which is you know, these are all great. And I'll, you know, I'm always happy to do whatever and dive in, but it may be that, oh, maybe discipline we do like we did challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be
Fun.
fascinating. And then the week after that with Cheryl, and I know Cheryl will talk about all three because that's just who she is. And it's fascinating to see how each of the guest artists is approaching the process in their own unique, special way, which is, it's all perfect. But the week after that is faith, flexibility, and freedom. So yeah.
It is fascinating, but I'm really looking forward to the way that this is rolling out, and I'm seeing so much shift in myself already. And I think I've already heard it said in one of the calls, like, I've done this work before. It always fascinates me how much more there is to uncover and sort of open up and discover. And so it's been a beautiful process. Mary, your video is fantastic. I can't wait for people to see it. It's super exciting. And I know
I watch it. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
I'm putting the finishing touches on my video today, and we'll get those.
Haven't done mine yet either. So, and I'm glad I haven't done it, because I feel like I had ideas, and I think they're going to shift after the conversation we've had today. But Mary, Andrea, and I obviously could talk all day. I'd love to hear any thoughts or reflections on anything we said, or when you sort of back up and look at the three all together, what other thoughts you have.
Well, I know when I first saw the list, the second one, you know, because I said courage stuck out to me, but the community, because I am an extreme introvert. And so up until probably 3 or 4 years ago, community had never been a part of my art making. There weren't really people around me who understood what I did. Our local art group is much more realistic looking art. So my art made no sense to them. So I never really felt that I was a part of that community, and I never looked outside of that. It was only once I started teaching in-person classes that I started finding other people who did the same things, and, you know, were excited when you did something new with gesso, and those are your people. So it wasn't until then that I started finding the community, and now I really see the value in it. Whereas before I was kind of like, I'm fine on my own. But now I really see that value, and that my community that I have now has been one of the things that's made me courageous, because it's almost like having it's like having a sounding board and a bunch of cheerleaders at the same time, because you have somebody that you can bounce ideas off of because they understand what you're talking about. But then you won't find a better group of cheerleaders of those people saying, well, you know, you should just go ahead and do that. Why wouldn't you? Why are you waiting? Why are you second guessing it? So I really do think that having the right community can make you more courageous, but you have to be courageous to go out and find the community. So again, there's that whole connection of the three of them working together.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Anything you want to add, Andrea?
Nope. I think we really hit all of them together. They do work beautifully together, and we didn't plan it that way. No, but I think that Mary had it right off. It does take courage to seek out the community. Connection is absolutely vital to be in community, right? And then I think that the whole community aspect for me is important for me to not feel so alone. And so that's what brings the richness to all of it. So all three of them are vital.
Yeah. And I would just wrap up by saying, for those of you that are listening and watching and feeling a little shy about sharing your thoughts and your work, we invite you to take that one tiny action step. And whether you share in the teachable classroom, or whether you come over and share on Facebook, or you can just email me or Andrea and just let us know how it's going for you. So we invite you to just courageously show up for yourself, because so much of the part of what the benefit of this program is the community aspect, and being seen, being heard, and just being in with your people, like Mary said, that, you know, whether you know what the difference is between Gesso and Joe Medium or not, you are still your people, right? And I will just laughingly say that scrolling Instagram, in one of those moments yesterday, there was a Liquitex ad for learn all the difference between all our mediums, and I totally geeked out. I'm like, oh, you know, and it's yeah, and I'm not alone, right? I'm not afraid to say that, where if I said that to someone else, they would be like, what? Like, I was walking with my husband and this morning, and once again he said to me, I don't really know what it is to tell people that you do. I don't know how to describe what you do to other people easily, right? And I'm like, great question. I don't either. So I am courageously seeking the right words to build more connection in my community.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you,
Happy
ladies.
Friday. And we'll see everyone in the classroom and in the Facebook group.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks.